Have you ever wondered why the future always seems to be just 5 years away, especially when it comes to the batteries powering our lives? We have been conditioned to live in a state of perpetual anticipation, fed by headlines promising miracles that never quite arrive at our doorsteps. It is a weary cycle of excitement followed by silence, leaving many of us to view every new breakthrough with a cold, hardened skepticism. But what if the next shift isn't coming from a laboratory breakthrough, but from the way we physically assemble the world around us? Before we dive into the mechanics of a revolution that might actually stick, I invite you to join our community of critical thinkers by subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell. Your engagement is the fuel that allows us to peel back the layers of corporate hype and find the truth hidden in the engineering. Today, we are looking at a story that has managed to capture the attention of the industry's most cynical veterans. And it starts not with a press release, but with a walk through a factory floor. For years, the world of battery technology has been a graveyard of broken promises and inflated metrics that fail the moment they leave the clean room. We have seen countless prototypes that boast incredible energy density, only to wither and die after a few hundred cycles of real-world use. This constant barrage of miracle cells has created a landscape of healthy skepticism, where we no longer listen to what a company says, but rather who is standing behind them. That is why the recent involvement of Sandy Munro in the story of 24M Technologies feels like a tectonic shift in the narrative. Munro is not a man known for being easily impressed by shiny objects or polished marketing decks, as his career has been built on tearing cars apart to find the ugly truth underneath. When a man who spent decades criticizing inefficient manufacturing gives a positive assessment after a factory visit, the industry stops to listen. It introduces a level of credibility that cannot be bought, moving the conversation from if this technology works to how it will scale. The numbers being thrown around are, quite frankly, staggering and enough to make any engineer pause in disbelief. We are talking about 660 watt-hours per kilogram and the ability to achieve a meaningful charge in just 4 minutes. Usually, when we hear such claims, our instinct is to look for the catch, asking if these are just cell-level metrics or if they can survive the transition to a full battery pack. We have to wonder about the degradation of these cells after 500 cycles of such intense thermal stress, which is the true test of any automotive component. The tone of this investigation is not one of blind triumph, but rather a calculated challenge to the status quo. We must remember that extraordinary performance demands extraordinary validation, and the gap between a laboratory bench and a highway is a chasm filled with failed startups. This sets up the central tension of our story, which is the eternal struggle between peak performance and long-term durability. At the heart of this potential shift is a Cambridge-based firm known as 24M Technologies, a company that is taking a refreshingly grounded approach. Unlike the many startups chasing the holy grail of all-solid-state batteries, 24M is focusing on something much more practical. They are not trying to reinvent the fundamental chemistry of the lithium-ion cell, nor are they sticking to the conventional methods that have dominated the last 3 decades. Instead, they have pioneered a semi-solid architecture that treats the battery more like a manufacturing puzzle than a chemical mystery. Their primary focus is on scalability, recognizing that a better battery is useless if you cannot build millions of them efficiently. By taking a manufacturing-first approach, they are addressing the bottleneck that has kept advanced energy storage out of the hands of the average consumer. The key differentiation here is that their technology is neither fully solid-state nor traditional lithium-ion, but a clever middle ground. This semi-solid approach allows them to simplify the production process in ways that were previously thought impossible. According to their data, they are looking at cutting the necessary production steps by approximately 50% while simultaneously reducing the capital intensity of the factories themselves. This is a crucial distinction because it suggests that the innovation lies as much in process engineering as it does in electrochemistry. When we look at the history of the Industrial Revolution, the winners were rarely the ones with the most complex designs, but the ones who could build them the fastest and cheapest. This segment reframes the entire breakthrough, suggesting that it is not just what is inside the cell that matters, but how the cell is actually built. When we put these performance claims under the microscope, the implications for our daily lives start to become clear and quite frankly transformative. Imagine a world where a car can offer a range of 1,000 miles on a single charge, or more importantly, gain 200 miles of range in just 4 minutes. That is the time it takes to order a coffee and walk back to your vehicle, effectively erasing the range anxiety that has been the primary barrier to electric vehicle adoption. The 660 watt-hours per kilogram metric places these cells at the very top of the global food chain, even when compared to the giants of the Chinese battery industry. This places their claims within the realm of engineering plausibility rather than pure fantasy, as it aligns with the direction the industry has been heading. However, we must remain cautious because the transition to pack-level integration remains largely unproven in a mass-market setting. Validation under automotive stress cycles is the pending hurdle that every battery must eventually clear to be taken seriously. Fast charging is a violent process for a battery, as moving that many ions that quickly generates heat and mechanical stress that can tear a cell apart from the inside. The unresolved tension here is whether these cells can maintain their integrity over years of use and thousands of miles of driving. If they can, then we are looking at a future where the internal combustion engine has no remaining functional advantages over electric propulsion. But if the longevity isn't there, these high-performance numbers are just a novelty for high-end racing and niche applications. The message for all of us is clear: the numbers are possible, but the proof of their worth lives in high-volume production, not in glossy press releases. The shift in focus toward manufacturing architecture is best exemplified by the 24M concept known as ETOP, or Electrode-to-Pack. In a traditional battery structure, the architecture is a Russian doll of complexity, where individual cells are placed into modules, and those modules are then placed into a heavy, structural pack. This results in a lot of dead weight or inactive material that does nothing to store energy but adds significant cost and mass to the vehicle. The ETOP goal is to collapse these layers entirely, increasing the volume of the actual electrodes to approximately 80% of the pack. By reducing the structural overhead, they are attacking the three most important metrics in the industry: cost per kilowatt hour, weight per vehicle, and manufacturing complexity. This is a strategic masterstroke because it simplifies the machine that makes the machine. If this packaging efficiency can be realized, it would lead to a potential cost compression of nearly 40%, which would change the economics of the entire automotive world. We often focus on the chemistry because it sounds futuristic, but the physical arrangement of materials is where the real money is saved or lost. This approach makes the battery a part of the vehicle chest core structure rather than a heavy suitcase tucked under the floor. It allows for higher energy density at the pack level, even if the individual cells aren't significantly more advanced than the competition. This is why the industry is watching 24M so closely, as they are solving the problems of the factory, not just the problems of the test tube. They are building a pathway to affordable, long-range transport that doesn't rely on a miracle, but on better logistics and design. To understand the full scope of this revolution, we have to widen our lens to the upstream supply chain, where the raw materials are born. In January of 2026, Tesla brought its Corpus Christi lithium refinery online, marking a massive milestone for North American industry. This is currently the largest refinery of its kind on the continent, and its existence is a structural enabler for everything we have discussed. Advanced battery chemistry is essentially useless if you do not have a secure, domestic supply of refined lithium to feed the machines. By producing lithium hydroxide on site, Tesla is reducing its dependence on foreign supply chains, particularly those controlled by geopolitical rivals. This is about more than just cars. It is about energy sovereignty and the ability to control one's own industrial destiny. The refinery in Corpus Christi is significant not just for its scale, but for its method, utilizing a cleaner, acid-free processing technique. It has an annual support capacity of approximately 50 gigawatt-hours, which is enough to power hundreds of thousands of vehicles every year. This segment emphasizes the necessity of ecosystem thinking, where chemistry innovation and material security must scale in perfect harmony. You cannot have a high-performance battery revolution without a high-performance supply chain to back it up. Tesla's move into refining shows that they understand the game is no longer just about who has the best car, but who owns the most efficient path from the earth to the road. It is a calculated move to ensure that their growth is never throttled by the whims of global commodity markets. A common question that arises in these discussions is, when will this technology actually reach the vehicles in our driveways? We must be honest, and avoid bold, unrealistic date predictions because the automotive world moves at a different pace than consumer electronics. There are several factors slowing down the deployment of such radical new technology, starting with the rigorous automotive qualification cycles. A battery in a car must survive extreme heat, freezing cold, and violent vibrations for over a decade without failing. This means that even after a battery works in a lab, it must undergo years of testing to ensure it won't become a liability for the manufacturer. Fast charge durability validation is another hurdle, as we need to know exactly how many times a user can plug into a high-speed charger before the battery begins to degrade significantly. Crash testing and thermal safety certification are also non-negotiable requirements that take time and immense resources to complete. Furthermore, achieving yield consistency at high volume is one of the hardest tasks in all of engineering, as making one perfect battery is easy, but making 1 million of them is a nightmare. However, there are strong credibility signals that suggest this is more than just a dream, such as the partnership discussions with Volkswagen that began back in 2021. The expansion of licensing pathways and the move toward commercial-scale semi-solid production via various partners shows that the groundwork is being laid. The conclusion we must draw is that while this is not a lab fantasy, it is also not something that will be in every showroom by tomorrow morning. It is a gradual, inevitable migration toward a more efficient future. When we evaluate the plausibility of these claims, we have to look at how higher energy density and lower pack level cost can coexist. Usually, in engineering, you have to trade one for the other, but the 24M approach suggests a way out of this zero-sum game. By having fewer manufacturing steps and lower capital expenditure requirements, they can offset the costs of more advanced materials. Higher packaging efficiency and the reduction of inactive materials mean that you are getting more bang for your buck out of every kilogram of the battery. Rather than promising miracles of physics, the argument rests on the cold, hard logic of structural economics. This reframes the entire breakthrough, suggesting that the factory itself may be just as important as the chemistry it produces. It is a holistic view of technology that considers the entire life cycle of the product. As we move toward the end of this exploration, we must return to the central consumer question that started it all. Is ultra-fast charging a real breakthrough for the average person, or is it a trade-off that we will eventually regret? Does the convenience of a 4-minute charge come at the expense of long-term durability, or have we truly found a way to have both? We have to consider the warranty risks that manufacturers face and the degradation curves that will determine the resale value of these vehicles in the future. Real-world cycle life and reliability in cold weather are the true benchmarks of success, and only time will provide the final answers. Our tone remains investigative and cautious because we have seen too many revolutions end in a whimper. We invite you to weigh in with your thoughts and consider whether you would trust your daily commute to a technology that promises so much so quickly. As you go about your day, I want to leave you with a question to ponder. If you could charge your car as fast as you fill a gas tank, would that be enough to make you switch? Or are there still other barriers holding you back? Your perspective is vital to this conversation, and I look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for spending your time with us today, and I hope this deep dive has given you a new way to look at the technology shaping our world. And please do not forget to subscribe to the channel if you found this content valuable. We have many more stories to tell, and we want you to be a part of every single one of them as we navigate this complex future together.